We are live, or is it Memorex? This is 3 Martini Lunch, a national virtual networking event, home of the Rolodex, apparently. Mike Manning mentioned the Rolodex. It's a word that I use that frequently colleagues will stare at me blankly, like they have no idea what I'm talking about. But you got to recognize that even back in the day, when people did have Rolodexes, not everyone used Rolodexes. It was a technology that was great for organizing things and creating your golden empire like Jenny Midgley had, because information referral is king, especially in networking. If someone asks you for information, if you can get that to them immediately, it is money in the bank for you because you're known as the go-to person. So Rolodex was a tool for you youngsters out there that was utilized so you could keep track of all of your connections with all their information, how you knew them, where you knew them from, in an easy manner to utilize them. Today, the equivalent would be using a CRM or a spreadsheet. And when you do that, you make money. So I did a little talk this week to some real estate agents on how to utilize social media. And I showed them 4 referrals that came to me through Facebook Messenger. And those were actually people that I had made referrals to for other things. They didn't, in fact, one of them said, I don't think I've ever met you in person, but you have made some referrals to me in the past, and you're my go-to person. We're buying a house in 2 months. So this is the way it works. So networking is always a face-to-face, whether you're doing it physically or whether you're doing it virtually. You are putting yourself in front of other people or just using different types of tools and technologies. Networking will always be with us. We'll just have different technologies. Right now we're using phones. Shortly through the vaccine, they'll be implanting us with chips. So we'll be able to communicate telepathically, and that through the 5G network. Okay, some people are not paying attention. Jenny's definitely paying attention. She's laughing. Everyone else is going, say what? That was just a test to make sure that we were actually broadcasting live and that you were paying attention. But it is all about the tools. Who received some referrals this week directly through Facebook Messenger? Someone reaching out to them, either asking for a referral or making a referral to you. Jenny, Adam, Andrew, Ray. Jenny, you want to share a little bit about how that sort of worked out so our audience can understand how to do it?
Yeah, so I think it comes at the root from having built relationships. So I built relationships, and then I get tagged in posts throughout the Facebook land, whether it be in groups or standalone people with, hey, I'm posting, I want a photographer, blah, 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 blah. And so it converted to like 3 inquiries, 1 signed client, a couple other appointments. So,
And no money out of your pocket. You didn't pay
none. It took me all of to respond. I have an auto. So here's the other thing is that on my business page, I have an autoresponder set up, and it's a very specific autoresponder message that I use because I have it. You can personalize it. You can enter the person's name so that it appears as though, it's coming from you. You can delay it so it comes like 10 seconds later, so it doesn't look like, bam, it's an autoresponder. But it also has information that says, hi, I'm sorry, I can't answer your inquiry right this minute. I'm either doing X, Y, or Z. I say for myself, I'm either doing business things or wrangling tiny humans. But if you'd like, I'd love to have a chat with you about what I can do to meet your needs. Here's the link to my calendar. And then I say, I put in their name. If you'd like to learn more about how I help my clients, and I put another link to my link that has all of my links in it. And thank you so much. And I will, get back with you shortly.
Great. So you have a little bit of automation there.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Adam, his Facebook strategy is Facebook stories, a lot of Facebook stories, putting out questions. What type of goal have you mined this week on Facebook?
So for me, I actually have a tool I use for my side hustle, which is the cryptocurrencies. So if you see my Facebook, you know that Bitcoin has been at its all-time high 5 times this month. It's ridiculous. But we use a little tool and we invite 10 people a day to come see our webinar. And it's just 10 a day because you can't stay on top of any more. Hardly anybody out of those 10 ever shows up. Hardly any of those 10 ever respond that day. However, they start watching and they start watching. And it takes on average between 3 to 5 weeks. And then they start asking and inquiring and engaging. And it's really a interesting phenomenon for me because I'm used to Facebook being immediate. Bam, bam, like I'm in Steven's kitchen. I know exactly what he's eating for dinner. I get that feeling. But on using this one responder tool, it's kind of delayed. So we keep planting seeds, nurturing, and then harvesting. And that's working really well for my wife and I.
That's terrific. You know, those silly little posts that I make about the meals that I make in the kitchen has garnered me 10 referrals that have turned into actual business. Yeah. Because one of the things people talk about is ethics and moral compass, and a good kitchen is part of that. Right, Domenic? Right, Andrew? Andrew, Facebook goal that you mind? I always like there's a delay on Andrew's.
What was your question, Stephen?
So you said you got some Facebook referrals or inquiries this week?
Yeah, this comes from being consistent and advertising and posting, organic and paid. And now people routinely tag me in different posts.
Well, I'll tell you one thing about Facebook. You know, a lot of people are complaining how sucky it is that Facebook is censoring and doing all of these things.
It's not.
But because of it, Facebook is becoming more like it was prior to all that garbage.
Yeah, it's censoring you if you're broadcasting backwards ideas or
hate speech. Don't be hateful.
Like way one way or the other stuff. But for generic everyday use, it hasn't changed at all.
I think it's improved actually a little bit. It's cleared out a lot of the nastiness, and people are treating each other a little nicer. Just my opinion. I don't have anything to prove that, but it's to be that way.
We're far enough out of the election and the change of hands in the government, so that's probably calmed things down a lot.
Not a lot of politics.
Exactly. Dom still pops up in my feed all the time, so it's not censoring him.
Yeah, I know, and I'm terrible.
Ray, have you been getting any traction in your Facebook recently?
Yeah, I just got a referral day before yesterday. So on Super Bowl Sunday, I actually got a referral for somebody that lives here in California and is moving to Texas. And that individual had contacted the agent in Texas, a gal by the name of Terry, while looking for homes on her webpage. And she indicated she had a house to sell. And Terry contacted, put something on Facebook that she had a client in the area, and I responded. She liked who I was. We talked on the phone. She liked who I was, and then referred me to her client. It's very exciting.
It's a beautiful thing. And of course, the warm introduction is very important. Mike Manning is an expert in the warm introduction. Do you have any tips for us? You know, anything we should be doing differently, or just stay the course?
Keep doing that, but I preach to people to collect stories. So when I introduced Domenic, and Jen and I have never met, and I don't know if she knows Domenic, but if I knew both of them and was introducing them, I would say Jen meet Domenic, Domenic, Jen, and I explained who they were. And Jen, when you talk to Domenic, ask him about this. And then Domenic, when you meet Jen, ask her about this. And that starts a conversation off fun, light, personal. We'll get to the business. But when you start connecting people that way, they feel a quicker bond and a quicker connection.
How do you keep track of the warm introduction after you've made it?
Oh, I have to write it down. Yeah, it's not going to stay up here long with everything else up there, trying to sort it out and get it in my Rolodex in order. But I just make notes And so when I do my best to make sure those notes are in the place, I remember where they were and just introduce them that way.
That's cool, because we have started the Rolodex counter. Every time someone mentions Rolodex, including me, over the next year, we will mark it down and we will correlate to how old you are by how many times you mention Rolodex. What was another technology from back then we used a lot? Dictaphones. Yeah, who had a dictaphone? Only Mike and myself. Even Jack is too young to have had a dictaphone.
We had one of those carbon copiers in my house that had the extra carbon paper. My dad had one of those.
What about a $12,000 IBM Selectric typewriter?
No, he had the bag phone though.
He had a bag phone.
He had a bag phone.
He was a drug dealer.
He liked the neatest technology. But I was going to say to Mike's point, how you asked how he's tracking the introductions. I have a folder in my inbox that I funnel all in my email. I put every sent warm introduction, I file it away. So that way, that's my organization, Mike.
Excellent. So Jen, it's been a while since we've spoken to you. I know you're kicking butt. I know you're doing a lot of stuff on Facebook. How do you keep track of all these people you're contacting, et cetera? Do you use a CRM, pen and paper?
Yeah, I use Less Annoying CRM for that, which is great because you can be able to send emails directly in there. You can be able to copy emails that you receive into there. So it's really easy to track all of the correspondence in one place, as well as obviously their notes and, contact information and stuff.
Okay, so what is the name of that CRM?
Less Annoying CRM.
That's a great name for a CRM. Domenic, yeah, dictaphone was used to take dictation. You take dictation?
No.
No, okay. Just wanted to make sure. Someone has to take down the important information. Hey, so this is what we're going to move on to. I'm glad to see you, Arline. Light is so much better today. So much better getting there, out there in Florida. We're going to move on. We're going to start off with a question regarding success instead of me asking you what your success was in the last week. And it's based on a quote. I really want to hear your feelings on this quote, your interpretation of this quote, and how it applies to you. And it's from none other than one of the most quoted men of the 20th century, Winston S. Churchill. You guys remember him? You know him? Okay. He was the inventor of the Rolodex and the dictaphone.
Wow.
I don't think so. Maybe, who knows? If someone wants to check that and see if I'm correct, you have more time than I think you deserve. But anyway, success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It's the courage to continue that counts. Winston S. Churchill. Great quote. Because that's a question we're asked about all the time about failure. As entrepreneurs, what does failure mean to you? Success is not final, is the first part. Failure is not fatal. It's the courage to continue that counts. I mean, I always think about in sales, the sales managers used to tell me when I was a kid, many millennium ago, you're only as good as your last sale. Right? You might have been the number one in the sales pit in October, but what did you do in November to get those Glengarry, Glen Ross leads? Those are the good leads. Who loves that movie? Yeah. I once showed that to a bunch of 80-year-old and 90-year-old Jewish women in a cinema club. And the cursing is just extreme in that movie. And they were horrified. But then we had the question and answers. And I said, how many of your husbands were salespeople? Almost uniformly out of the whole group, almost every one of them were in sales. That's where the money was. And I said, how many of them spoke that way? And they go, all of them spoke that way. So this is realism. This is what we're learning here. But let's go to this question. Let's start off with Andrew, because he's the most sleepy of the bunch today. Okay, Andrew, success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It's to continue that counts. How do you interpret that? How do you apply it?
I mean, it sounds a lot like that quote from Keanu Reeves at the end of The Replacements when they're in the final game. And Mike knows what I'm talking about.
You got to give us the quote.
It's what is it? Pain heals, chicks dig scars, glory lasts forever.
Yep.
It's, I mean, don't stop going as long as that direction makes sense to you and it feels great. It'll hurt, but you'll get to where you want to go, and ultimately you'll be on top of the world.
So failure's not, it's not a big deal. Just a scar. Proves your battle scars.
I mean, the more you fail, the closer you get to your goal.
Yeah. I mean, how much are you guys into the sales milieu, into the sales history? Like, are you guys watch Death of a Salesman, Willie Loman? Right? Willie Loman, the perpetual degenerate salesperson who counted his victories in hotels and motel rooms across the United States, but wasn't making sales anymore. He was only as good as his last sale. But what would he have been able to take, from something like Winston Churchill, continue to strive for that success? It's Mr. Rolodex. Adam Bricker has now changed his name to Mr. Rolodex. That's 1, 2, 3 times I mentioned it.
I wanted to fit in because, I need some Rolodex points over here. But what you just said, because my background is sales. I grew up, I learned how to sell when I was in college. I actually sold door to door to put myself through the University of Florida. And that's why they give you trophies, because, you're on top of the world, but the world keeps moving. So you have a next season, and then you have a next season, win or lose. If you have the courage to continue, you get to fight for that title again, whether it's a belt, a paycheck, a trophy, whatever it might be. When I learned that Babe Ruth had more strikeouts than anybody else in the history of baseball at that time, I don't know if anybody's passed it. It really helped me to understand that losing is part of winning, that being able to pick yourself up after defeat, because none of the people who won the Super Bowl could have won the Super Bowl at 8, at 10, at 20. They had to go through all those wins and losses to get to that point where they're crowned champion. And guess what? Next season when they kick off, they'll all be 0-0 again.
That's right. Did you see that post I made about Tom Brady and his daily schedule? Did you read that one?
I didn't see that one.
He has like a real intense schedule. Get up at 5:30 in the morning, and he keeps going till 8:30 when he goes to bed, and it's all scheduled out for the day. But I did notice in his schedule there were several hours that were not accounted for, that I guess he could do whatever he wanted during that. And what a lot of people said is, well, he doesn't do that by himself. Someone helps him do it. And I was thinking, isn't that the way it is for every entrepreneur, every salesperson? That's what we have to do. We have to depend on other people to get to our goals. And we spend money on that, and we spend time, and we barter our time with other professionals to be successful. And how frequently do you find yourself just calling someone during the week and say, hey, look, you seem to be really good at X. I'm really good at Y. Why don't I share what I know about Y? And if you don't know about Y, how many dollar signs do you want to share about X to me? It's that important information. Hey, Arline, we're gonna jump to Arline because I hate to miss her while she still has the good lighting. Arline, success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It's the courage to continue that counts.
Well, this reminds me of a video that's been on Facebook several times, and it's the first thing that came to mind. It's this, I'm an animal lover, so I always relate to animals. It's this baby bear trying to get up this steep, snowy hill. The mom's up there, the mom's in front, climbs up, and the baby bear just gets almost to the top and slides all the way down to the bottom and starts over again. Gets almost to the top and slides all the way. It took like 6 times, and finally, it made it to the top. But, the mother bear's just sitting there watching, because she knew that he was going to have to make it sooner or later. And, most like human parents would be panicking, but with the animals, the bear it was almost like, I've got all day, it'll happen. So that's the first thing that came to my mind. And I'm like that with tech. It's like plodding along, little bits at a time.
Now, do you take any courses so you become more familiar with tech?
Oh yeah.
Or...
I have. I'm getting there. It just takes me a little longer than most people. I don't have that type of, and I have to stop saying I don't have that type of brain. I have to stop saying that, and just I'm getting it. It's just slow going.
Yeah, it's technology just changes and changes and changes. Who used to buy Yellow Page ads for their business? Lots of them. Wow. I mean, I spent $100,000 a year on Yellow Page ads when $100,000 was actually money, and I used it and it served me very well. It's a form of technology, right? When did I stop using it? A 90-year-old came into my business on crutches. And I said, "Oh, how did you find out about our business?" And she said, "I Googled it." Called up my Yellow Page rep, and I said, "Now, I was looking for the time when we were going to cancel the Yellow Page ads. That was the time when she's using the Yellow Pages." Anybody here a Pawn Stars fan?
A little bit.
A little bit, yeah. Well, now they show them on Facebook, so it's a lot more tolerable in 3-minute, or 5-minute bunches than watching an hour of them. But they featured a Wooten desk, which was an example of 18th century business technology. They were the most incredible desks. They had 100 cubby holes in them. They had inkwells in them, and they were designed for business. They were the first desks that were made for just more than just writing. Really a precursor to what we're doing today, which really shows you that everything that we do now, nothing of it is new. We're just using different technology in order to do it. So keep up with the technology. Arline, you don't have one of those desks, do you? One of those Wooten desks? I think we lost her. She must have one though. Okay, let's go over to Jen. You love that code. You love that quote. You're in the health industry.
Yeah.
Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It's the courage to continue that counts. What does he mean by success is not final?
Well, for me, I look at it and I kind of compare it to the philosophy that I use when it comes to health, is that it's not a destination, right? There's always something more. There's always something you can be able to create that's greater than where you're at right now. So when I work with somebody in health, we're talking about not just getting out of pain, but creating your ideal life, creating your best health. And it's a pursuit versus, oh, I made it. I lost 20 pounds and now I'm good. Or I've gotten off this medication and now I'm good, right? There's always something more that if we're in the creation mode, which I think the pursuit of success is, we're looking at what we can create out of our life, out of our business, with our family, and where are we going with that? Not just the short term, but really that long-term vision, which is continually evolving.
So today, success might be bending over to tie your shoes.
Right.
And here that may be running around the block.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's just everybody's time is going to be different doing that. Failure is not failure. Let's go to the second part. Failure is not fatal.
Well, in most cases, it's not fatal. Sometimes it is, right? Somebody's 2x4 moment may be that heart attack, that fatal heart attack. But for most people, failure isn't fatal. It's look at somebody that's making dietary changes and things like that. They don't plan for the morning and they're running out the door and they grab a donut at work, right? It doesn't mean the rest of the day is completely trash. It just means that right now, that's what it is. So put your bootstraps back on and keep moving. And it's an evolution. Again, it's not just about this moment, but it's really the grand scheme of things and where you're going.
Absolutely. That's a great way to look at it. I mean, as entrepreneurs, really failure is education. It's highly paid for and much more effective than much of the education that you had. You don't know how to do it right until you do it wrong, essentially. I mean, sometimes you might do it right off the bat, but usually those are people, their faces are like, I can't believe I did that. I can't believe how lucky I was to do it right off the bat. That doesn't happen all the time. Mostly it's really, really hard work. I was reading about the CEO of Chipotle, and Chipotle as a organization was praised for their minimalist style of their restaurants. Well, they interviewed him. They said, well, we couldn't afford anything else. And I really had no design taste whatsoever. I just used what I could find at Home Depot to build my restaurants. Well, that, was luck.
There you go.
A little bit of luck and a little bit of perseverance. Now, what about the portion, Jen? It's the courage to continue that counts.
I think every day is, it's a decision of what we're doing and what we want to create. And so it is ongoing to keep going, right? And sometimes when you fall down or you're not seeing success, it really does take courage to keep going one day at a time. It just makes me think about, I have a gal that I worked with, and hi, non-napper. We have a snow day here in Ohio. So my daughter's here with me. Hi, but so she had about 30 pounds that she wanted to lose, and we worked together for about 3 months. And the first 6 weeks, she didn't lose an ounce. And she was frustrated, to say the least. She was doing all the right things, but the scale wasn't moving. So 6 weeks in, we're talking about it, and she's telling me how frustrated she is, and she had rotator cuff surgery. She can't reach over to zip up her pants because they're all side zip. But thank God that she could fold them over in front of her because she'd lost 4.5 inches, but the stupid scale hasn't moved. And so it's those moments where it's like, sometimes we can't see the forest for the trees, right? And so instead of stopping because she's frustrated, it's a matter of seeing it through. The next 6 weeks, she drops 18 pounds, right? So it's really reminding ourselves what we're going for and continuing in that direction, regardless of how fast or how slow we see the results, because it's the ultimate goal of what we're creating and where we're going that matters.
It's not necessarily the number on the scale or the dollars in the bank.
Right.
How is your life improving? How's your lifestyle improving? And I've been doing intermittent fasting. Not a lot of weight loss, but I'm able to walk up a hill without panting. Able to sleep better through the night, give up medication. It's not just sometimes you got to stop looking at the number on the scale for a while. Also, in your industry, rest days, very important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I mean, it's not about doing everything 110% all the time. It's about creating a balance where you can create a flow and a lifestyle with it.
Excellent. Hey, who would like to go? Let's go over to Jenny. You want to tackle this one, Jenny? You ready?
I am so ready.
You're so ready. I told her the question yesterday. I didn't.
Sorry, insider info. No, but I think I remember it at this point, which is good.
Okay, what is it? Do you want me to say?
I don't remember. I was just teasing.
I have it written down. I said, Sarah, please print it out for me. Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It's the courage to continue that counts. Winston S. Churchill.
Right. So it made me think of a couple of things. Number one, there's a quote by Daniel Hillel that's like, I get up, I walk, I fall down, and meanwhile I keep dancing. Right? Like forward momentum doesn't have to stop, right? But success, and then the other thing it made me think of was trading places. So I know, totally like opposite ends, right? Uplifting quote, not, but think about it, right? Like the success, right? For Dan Aykroyd and what's his face was totally not final. They were, sent to the slums. So it's something that, you can't, nothing is a guarantee unless you keep working towards a goal, right? Like even that, thank you, Eddie Murphy. I know Eddie Murphy was anyway, it doesn't matter. But it's that, that you need to constantly be in motion to be able to determine if you are succeeding or failing, right? Like, and if you fail, it's cool. You get up and you keep moving forward, because it's how you compartmentalize and classify that failure as you move forward.
I mean, you gain so much knowledge when something doesn't work. I mean,
it's just a lesson.
I don't have to spend more time doing that. That was banging my head against the wall. I can move on.
Or you decide that you don't want to do it and you figure out who can do it for you, which is my favorite thing to do.
You're right. A pessimist falls down and an optimist falls forward. So it's just changing your perspective. When you fall, that's just getting you that much closer. And how many people who are running a race fall over the finish line?
Right. And it's the pessimist that falls down that looks for the reason why they fell, and as a victim mentality. And the optimist may fall and be like, oh, well, at least I still, I didn't break anything. Nothing's bleeding. I'm good. I can get up and keep moving, and I'm going to avoid whatever that obstacle is the next time.
Excellent. So what have you been doing just, recently in your own life to celebrate life? Off subject.
No, totally off subject. Celebrating life. It's been total chaos because we moved offices. I'm opening a photo video studio, and it's just been crazy bananas happenings. I don't even know, like my office is still yet unpacked because the property manager keeps saying, oh, we have to finish this next thing. And I'm like, can I please just decorate? That's all I want to do. Like I have everything that I need right now to decorate and I can't do anything. So that's frustrating. But in life in general, like, I had happy hour with my girlfriends on Saturday night, albeit by Zoom. But it was super duper fun. Ended up one of the other ladies who's in Nashville and I stayed on for like 2 hours after everybody else hung up because we were just enjoying each other's company. And we were doing it more frequently at the start of the pandemic and we had kind of stopped, but that was the kind of like rejuvenating connection that I needed. We're just trying to wait. Like I feel like winter is lasting longer in North Carolina than it should be. That's my other. I have a complaint about that.
Yesterday, I mean, you got to take advantage of what God gives you. And yesterday, I put down the convertible top. It was 57 degrees outside.
Right.
Not exactly convertible weather, but I turned on the heater, turned on the heated seats.
Right.
And took a ride on the convertible, just enjoying it. I think that if we get anything from this pandemic, life is short. You have to enjoy it as much as possible. Extend your fun times.
Yeah.
Your weekend starts on Friday. Friday night should not be nap time. Friday night should be let's do something fun.
Absolutely. And the other thing I've been doing is I've been leaving my work at the office. So like I've been really trying not to bring my stuff home.
Well, that's an accomplishment. That's really hard. I don't know whether I can do that since I work from home.
Get an office and then you can leave things there.
This is the office. You're in it. This is not a backdrop. These are actual books and things.
Right.
I'm sort of old fashioned. Hey, Domenic.
Yes, sir.
It's not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. Winston S. Churchill. This is some good stuff here.
Yeah, that is good stuff. It kind of reminds me of another quote that I saw of his, is something like, when you meet with triumph or disaster, then you treat those imposters just the same. So it essentially, when you have something in your life that's a success or something that's not the end of you. I mean, unless it results in your death, then that's the end of you, but then other people go on. Life is just, a continuous journey that we all live. And, some of us, we're just lucky to be here for a while. So, the whole idea is that when you have a success, there's going to be inevitably things that you're going to move on to, that you're going to want to do, either building upon the success that you already have or trying new things that you'd also like to have your hand at being successful at. And then, of course, the failure part, that's easy. You don't become successful without failing a whole lot of times, because that's how you learn to be successful.
Well, I mean, with the whole part with failure, I mean, is there really such a thing as failure? I mean, are we conditioned in that because we take tests in school and they say you didn't get enough right, you failed the class?
Maybe I don't.
From the class.
I don't really know. Right. I think it's only fatal if you accept that that's the best you're ever going to do, and then you give up trying, right? That's when it's fatal. It's all in your mindset, right? If you achieve a success and you think, I've made it, I don't have to do anything else to continue or build upon that, that's a failure. That's not a success. If you have the mindset that I failed at something, so I'm going to give up, that's a failure. That's not a success. If you have the mindset that I'm going to learn from success or unsuccessful, whatever it is that you do, as long as you take the mindset, I'm going to learn from this and I'm going to carry on and I'm going to be persistent and I'm going to make it to whatever my goals are. And then, if I do make it to that ultimate goal, I'm going to set one even higher and just keep going. Shoot, Tom Brady just won the Super Bowl. Dude's 43 years old, same age as me. Peyton Manning, he's already in the Hall of Fame. Those guys were battling each other out for, the better part of over a decade. Peyton Manning's out of football. Tom Brady's still winning Super Bowls. It's crazy. One wasn't enough, two wasn't enough, six wasn't enough. And I think he's coming back next year, and who knows if he's going to win it again. Not a Tom Brady fan, like personally. It's just, he's always played against one of my teams. But, you can't argue with his mindset, which is, there's always something more to achieve. There's always something more to prove. And he just comes back and works.
Well, how many people have you ever been fired from a job? No, I don't think you have.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. I have.
How many people have been spurred into something much better because of something like that?
Yeah,
right.
Of course.
And it's all part. I mean, it really goes with what he's saying. It's not, failure is obviously not fatal. Failure might not even exist as far as it comes to business, associated with business. How many famous business people we heard of that did incredible things and then died penniless? So many, but were they failures when they died? No, not at all. Just based on the accomplishments that they have had.
And how many famous business people also started off their career in a series of businesses that failed to be successful, and they said, you know what? Okay, that didn't pan out. I'm going to go to the next thing, then the next thing, then the next thing, and then they found that thing that worked, and they became this tremendous success. And people look at them, they see the success, but they don't see the mountain of failures that success was built upon.
And how many successes for other people did they motivate?
Exactly.
Other innovators that came after them, or competitors for that matter. Jack Brockman. Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It's the courage to continue that counts. Winston Churchill. What are your thoughts?
Well, having the time now to kind of listen to everybody, about a half a dozen things that run through my head, and I'm like trying to think of which one's the best one or most relevant, because having this time to sit here and think, it's like, holy moly. I think it's been alluded to, there's a quick just think, fail forward. I think, that's a big thing. Actually reminds me of a Disney movie, I think it was, called Meet the Robinsons, that I saw with my kids. And that was the whole thing about that whole movie, was all his failures got him to where he was. And this guy was a very successful thing, but you didn't know it until you saw the whole movie. And he talked about failing forward throughout the whole thing. And I hope my kids got that lesson from that. But like several people said, it's a destination. In sales, you have to be able to have a thick skin and be able to deal with no's and rejections. And, that's, the saying is, every no gets you closer to a yes, kind of thing. So, you just kind of roll with the punches and understand that it's somewhat of a numbers game, and you try to strategize as best you can. And just, like I said, it's all part of the journey.
I mean, once you've learned your skills to sell, and when I'm saying that, I mean closing a deal. You learn how to close a deal.
Yeah.
That's how you do it. Eureka. That's how you close a deal. 100 no's is a success. That means you were on the phone with 100 people.
And getting a no is actually a good thing for people, because now I know I can take them off the list, and I'm not going to waste my time calling back and doing other stuff where I'd much rather get somebody and get a no.
You want a yes, no, not a maybe.
Yeah, exactly.
Those maybes are major time sucks.
Yeah. But like most people, I think having that courage is some days it's easy and some days it's hard, you know. So just you just got to find whatever it is that motivates you, and hopefully that carries you through. Because like I said, there's days it's easier than others.
100%. Ray Fuentes. Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It's the courage to continue that counts. Winston S. Churchill.
Yeah, so I'm going to steal something from one of the chats that came from Andrew, and he posted, you're welcome, he posted that it's a matter of perspective. And when I saw that, I was thinking about when I started in real estate many, many years ago. The training I received was to cold call. And I'm a little bit of a numbers guy, so I got my phone list out and I was calling people. I was cold calling, and my goal was to make 100 phone calls a day. Out of that 100 phone calls, I would talk to about 30 people, and out of every 50 people I talked to, so 2 or 3 days I'd have to go through and talk to people, I'd get a listing appointment. And so once or twice a week, I was going on a listing appointment, and the people that were in my class that that were going through the same training I was doing, they go, "What are you doing?" Well, I was failing. I did a lot of failing, right? If you look at it that way, 100 phone calls, I talked to 30 people, and maybe one listing appointment, maybe, but the perspective from the other folks was, you're being successful in what you're doing. So it's all about perspective. Just like you mentioned, it's, is there such a thing as failure? I think it's how you look at it. Just like the success, my 100 phone calls and one listing appointment, 99 failures. No, I was successful that day.
We can get really philosophical about this as well. And frankly, after we're gone, except for maybe a very tiny handful of the people that we know, will be remembered after they're gone. Maybe they're remembered one generation, maybe two, but it's unlikely that it'll be in 3 generations or 4 generations, unless we leave something behind of great importance. And even then, are they going to remember us, or are they going to remember what was accomplished? Sales is something that we're born to do. People that get into this, they're entrepreneurs. They're selling either a product or they're selling themselves. It's sort of something that we do to occupy our time. If we have a good ethics and good moral compass, we have chosen a product that's going to make the lives of other people better. It'll make our families' lives better. We can enjoy some more material things if we're successful in sales. But the reality is we're just on earth for a short period of time with our particular roles. And maybe we shouldn't just get so hung up on what is success and what is failure, and what instead concentrate on what feels good and what feels right. You don't have to impress anyone anymore. It's not about that. It's about taking care of your needs and your family's needs and your clients' needs. Anyone have a thought on that? Mrs. Midgley?
I have many thoughts. But you know what? The other thing what's popped in my head was there's a guy named Dan Pink, and he writes about human behavior in sales. And he's written some really cool books. I've had the opportunity to see him speak, but my favorite is a book called To Sell is Human, meaning that everything is a negotiation, right? No matter what you're doing, whether it's you're trying to convince your kids why they should eat their vegetables, or, for me, it's, trying to get my daughter to taste chicken, or when you're actually working with, I know she's the only kid I know that doesn't like chicken. I don't get it. But the not even chicken nuggets, right? That's crazy.
I never liked chicken.
Anyway, or I know all the way to when you're trying to sell a client, right? It's all about, it's a dance, it's a negotiation. So figuring out how to effectively utilize the steps so that you can get to, you know, your end game of completing that sale is really where I think a lot of people just get stuck, right? Like they get stuck with all the things versus, and they lose sight of what the goal is, right? Whatever the goal is, whether it's to negotiate a contract or sell a product or, you know, deliver on a promise or whatever. So
I mean,
yeah,
when you met Scott, I mean, it was the sales presentation of his lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Well, yes, he was. Yeah, he did not sell himself well. I thought he was totally boring with zero personality.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
That's hard to believe. He must have been a little bit shy.
He was very awkward on the phone. And then when we got in person, he was totally fine. But our first conversation, I was like, well, I'll go out because I got nothing better to do that night. But, you know, I'll go have a drink with him, but I don't anticipate this is going anywhere. And I had already written it off in my head. And then he sold himself, right?
Yeah, he did it.
Yeah.
That's another reason why I'm confident that we will be doing a lot of face-to-face networking probably in end of April, beginning of May, maybe June, because you know, people like Scott, in order to close the deal, he's got to meet you in person.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
100%. So Jen, regarding success, you had big success in your life. You went through a divorce, you started a new career, a new business, doing fantastically well at it. What are your thoughts on, you know, the philosophical side of sales and success? Like, what does sales do for you?
For me, I think sales is the transference of opportunity, right? I mean, if we don't sell somebody anything, then there's no possibility for them. There's no possibility for us. And so it's as much as it's a transaction, it can also be a gift in really being able to help somebody step into their higher power. I know, or a higher level. I know when I first started in sales, I hated it. My first sales job was when I was in my 20s and I was working for a paper and ink supply company. I had to call up cold calls. Hi, this is Jen with your paper and ink supplies. Grab your serial number and I'll tell you what your specials are. And it was miserable. And I didn't believe in the company. I felt, you know, like a fraud calling because I obviously wasn't their person. It was just the line to get in the door. And then I found something that I was passionate about. And then it really did become this space to be able to hold for me to create the life that I want, but also for them to be able to create their next level. So I think a big part of it comes from the space where you are. Like, I believe that sales is to serve versus, you know, just selling to be able to get something from somebody else.
Yeah, and you're selling a good thing that people want. I mean, they want health, they want to improve their lives, and you can role model it for them.
Yeah.
So Andrew sells houses, Ray sells houses. There's a lot of satisfaction. That's what you hear from a lot of real estate agents. Why do you do it? Well, one, they get really paid extremely well, real estate agents. If you guys didn't know that, good real estate agents do well. Bad ones don't do anything. Unfortunately, I think only, you know, the 80-20 rule. I mean, that we all know what that is, so I don't have to go into that. But Ray, satisfaction from sales, whether a transaction is completed or not.
You're asking me what if it is satisfactory, or?
I mean, even if you don't complete the sale, if you don't get that person as a client, you try to leave them with something of value.
Yeah, absolutely. This has only happened to me once. I had a client that was looking to buy a home. Of course, I'm helping them buy a home. We're looking at houses. They have the opportunity, and I don't remember exactly what they said. It had to do with, it led me to believe that if they bought the house, they would be house rich and cash poor, and they'd probably lose the house. And so I shared with them what that phrase meant, house rich, cash poor, and what their plan was for the future. How were they going to move forward? And they didn't buy a house. And I felt good about it, that I didn't, encourage them to buy. It wasn't my decision. It was their decision. I just gave them the information to make a good business decision. So.
And that's a real challenge right now in real estate. In some markets, it is a very, very big seller's market. The sellers carry all the cards. People are putting up a lot of money up front. They're paying more than the house cost. Their hopeful belief is that even though they may have overpaid, the prices will continue to go up, and they're in the market. But a lot of agents feel bad because they're not able to get their client into a home. Their client doesn't have what they need to get into a home, which is a sufficient down payment, the ability to make up the difference between the cost of the home and what they've been approved for. I mean, it's very simple. Not just because everyone else is buying doesn't mean that you can, nor is it the right time for you to buy. We actually have a situation in some sellers markets right now where the rent is so far less than the mortgages that they would probably be better off renting.
Invest the difference. Talk to Domenic.
Right. Talk to Domenic, invest the difference, start stockpiling that money, figure out what type of home you really want to live in. And this might not be your time. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's funny that Ray said that, because that's actually the situation I find myself in personally. The home that I am in, I'm renting for at least $1,000 less than it would cost me to pay a mortgage on it. Like, why would I buy this house and pay more when I can invest the difference
and not have to worry about it? It's
Yeah.
much more than $1,000 when you factor in maintenance of the home.
Well, sure. Yeah, absolutely.
If a new roof has to go on there, a new HVAC system, your landlord's putting that on.
I'm just talking about the difference between the mortgage and the rent, which is huge.
And people, they just don't want to miss. They don't want to miss out. But maybe isn't the time for them to buy a primary home. Maybe they can buy an investment property.
That's it.
Buy an investment property they can rent out to someone else if they feel like they want to be in the game. You're living in a house. Yes, it is a form of investment, but real investment in property is buying property that you hold and you rent out, and you make money from the appreciation. Andrew, that's sort of like where we are right now. I think agents that are knowledgeable are able to explain this to their clients, not just be so excited that you get a buyer.
Yeah,
because a buyer can buy 5 years from now.
Exactly. And some of I think I have 2 or 3 reviews on various things where the person who left the review did not buy or sell anything with me. They, on their own volition, I didn't ask for it, went and left a review thanking me for my honesty and my guidance and my knowledge of the area, helping them realize before they went down a road they couldn't come back from, this was not a good fit for them.
Right, and it's not just in real estate.
I didn't make a dime off of that. That was me saying, hey, here's my honest 2 cents. Here's everything I'm allowed to tell you. Based on what you told me, here's what I would do. And they trusted me enough to go with it.
And that review is worth a lot.
Oh, God, those reviews because people will realize I'm not about the, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 I could have made off that sale. I want to help people get where they want to go.
And Jenny's in the industry where you only have so many hours in the day until she grows 3 or 4 more Jennies that work for her. So there are frequently people that she's just like is going to tell, I am not the best use of your money at this point, but let me introduce you to products and services that if you get involved with in 6 months, well, I'll let you explain it. Go ahead, Jenny.
Yeah. Not a problem. No, that's part of my script with people is I say, let's have a conversation so that you can determine if I'm the best fit for your needs. And if I'm not, I will refer you to one of my trusted partners who I know can deliver services to whatever it is, And there are people, I just had a consult with somebody yesterday. we talked through all of the different options, and I was like, at the end of the day, what matters, right, is that you're getting what you need to build your business and your brand. And, maybe content marketing right now and signing up for all of my things isn't what you need. Maybe you just need I'm not trying to talk myself out of money, but maybe what you need is just some photos for your website, and that's cool. And then we'll just keep, the relationship going. By the end of the conversation, she was talking about what she planned on using me for next year. So not only is she deciding what she wants to do this week, as far as her decision for what she wants to buy right now, she's planning for the rest of 2021 plus into 2022. And I think what that shows is when you're willing to say, there's inherent power in saying, I don't know the answer to your question. There's also inherent power into saying, you know what, I may not be able to offer you what you need, but that's cool. Let's just keep this relationship. We can still be friends, right? Like, it's not you, it's me, but we can still be friends.
Mm-hmm. And it's because you become much better at your business when you know who is your client, and that's essential when you're starting a business. When we started Rockstar Connect, we had to figure out who was our ideal client, and our ideal client was someone that had an ego, right? An ideal client, meaning that in the best way possible,
mm-hmm.
because we knew that we were going to make our clients or assist them in becoming locally famous. If they did not want to be locally famous, this was not the product for them. And that's what we do when we get on a call, on a success coaching call. We ask people straight out, do you enjoy being well known? And
mm-hmm.
some people just, it's hard for us on this panel to understand that, but there are people that just do not want to be in the spotlight.
Right. They want to be wallflowers. I mean, that's the difference between an introvert and an extrovert, right? Like, if you're a true introvert, you can be a little bit outgoing, but truly you're not going to want all of the attention.
Right. I can give Domenic, 1,000 people to meet, and he's going to be ecstatic. Other people,
over time, not
so much, but he knows what he can do with 1,000 people over a period of time. So Jen, it applies to your industry as well. If someone comes to you, they're not in the physical shape. I mean, you have to be at a certain level to start even thinking of your physical health.
Absolutely.
I think people have to go to the doctor, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and everybody's at a different level, and that's one of the things that I really work on is what their readiness for change is. Because if you have somebody that, they need to lose 150 pounds, and the idea of giving up their donuts or their pizza or something like that, like, that's probably going to be a tough row for them to be able to lose that amount of weight in less than a couple of, 2-3 years, right? Versus somebody that is ready and willing and like 110% in, they can be able to make changes a lot faster. So it's absolutely meeting somebody where they're at, but there is definitely a baseline where somebody needs to be mentally to be able to even start and then go from there.
I mean, and you have to define, where they are, right? Because, some people, if it may take them 3 years, better it takes 3 years than never doing it at all.
Absolutely. The time's going to pass anyhow. So you can either stay, sick and tired of being sick and tired, or you can start taking action steps, no matter how big or how small, to get there.
So is there like a step that you can give someone immediately they're gonna have some improvement? Like
90% of the people, it's water.
Water.
Just drinking half your body weight in ounces of water. It is absolutely like the game changer for 90% of the people that I meet. And I love seeing all the water cups.
Water is a big deal. So Sarah, and those of you who don't watch the program, Sarah is co-creator of Rockstar Connect and the producer of this show. When we got married, she was a soda drinker and I was a water drinker. And she was sort of embarrassed to let me know that she was a soda drinker. So she just became a water drinker because of that. And then when she started drinking water, then other things started happening, like less food, more vegetables. Just that, inserting something like water can be very important. Does everyone here drink water? Yeah. Kate, I know, says water. Domenic. Yeah, and that water can have a little bourbon in it, right, Domenic?
Not at this time of the day. I still have, stuff to do.
We all started these Zoom calls, way back when at the beginning of the pandemic with alcohol. Everyone had a little cocktail. I haven't done that in a really long time. Just doesn't work out, starting to drink at 2:00 in the day. I don't know how they did it during the Madman period, but they were stronger people than us.
You all passed out on the floor.
We all passed out on the floor. So we have been joined in the second half of the program by Clint and Greg and Katie. We jumped right into the question. If we have time at the end of the question, we'll let everyone share a little bit about what they do with the audience. At the end of this, we'll do a little bit of show and tell, which we don't get to do every program. But the question we're dealing with today is success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It's the courage to continue that counts, by Winston S. Churchill. And I bet he opened a few businesses. Did you hear Winston Churchill hamburgers? It's big in London. And so, Katie, I just sort of dropped that on you. Do you want me to go to Clint or Greg first?
I was just typing something to ask the other panelists, so I wasn't listening.
Okay. I thought so.
I was see, look, I just sent it. I was typing this about the times.
Totally. I can go, Stephen.
Yeah, somebody else go.
Okay. I can just, build on what you guys were just talking about, because I myself went on that weight loss journey. I was 317 pounds in 2014. And now I am 201, 202, 199, depending on the day. And it's a constant journey for me. And so every day that I do what I need to do, I drink my water, I do my journaling, I, work out, I go for a walk, I do whatever is a success. And if I had to give one piece of advice to anybody that's going on that journey, I'd say work starting on the inside of yourself before you can work on the outside of yourself. I mean, I would have done it the opposite way if I would have known better back in the day. But, my kickstart was I needed, that my doctor told me I needed blood pressure medicine, and I didn't want to go on medicine. And then I got kicked off of a roller coaster because the thing wouldn't fit over me and stuff like that. So, sticking with it and working on the inside of yourself is what, I would definitely say.
I mean, it's slow and steady wins the race.
Yep.
Slow and steady wins the race. And now that we're working from home, I think we truly understand a lot more about time. So if you're not commuting 45 minutes each way now, you now have an hour and a half that you can do you can use that for yourself, make yourself live, or you can use that time to kill yourself.
Yep.
So the question is, we're salespeople. We want to make those 100 phone calls. Do we do it during that hour and a half, or do we use that for exercise, time with our family, maybe a meal that we don't gulp down in 15 minutes at lunch?
I'd spend it on working on myself. And that's what I've been doing, making sure that I have, everything that I know I need for me, because if I don't work on myself, then I'm just doing a disservice to everybody that I come into contact with every day. And so I use the extra time working at home to do that.
Right. That's not your boss's time. That's your time.
It's my time. Yeah.
Your time. 100%. Yep. Hey, Greg, welcome back. Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It's the courage to continue that counts. Winston S. Churchill. Your thoughts on it? You can take it in any direction that you want. We've been really riffing on it.
Okay. I have no idea how to answer that, but I'll tell you one thing. The one thing I tell a lot of the people that I work with is that success is rented, not owned. And anybody can achieve in any field that they want, as long as they're willing to take on the hard work that's going to take to do it. A lot of people get, in my industry, in real estate, a lot of people get afraid of taking on the major agents because they're like, oh my God, they own this marketplace. And that can be for any industry, right? Any business person. If someone's a dominant, you're like, oh, I can never compete with them. Well, just keep in mind, they're rented. They are literally a rented space. You can literally niche away at them. Water is the best, force on earth. It can either give life or take life. And you can drip on a rock and it can go right through that rock at a certain point. So what are you going to do? Are you going to allow yourself to, be dominated by fear, or are you going to just look at success? So,
well, I mean, I agree with you with that, especially in real estate. And I mean, the more agents need to get mentored by whom they consider to be successful agents. Their belief is that successful agents want 100% of the business. There are some masochists out there that may want 100% of the business. They may want to dominate. They're few and far between.
Mm-hmm.
The best, most successful agents want to be successful at what they do and to be the best at it. And that just happens to bring you more business. The business and the money is the side effect of doing a good job.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I just went out and took a look at a 40-acre lot. They get subdivided into about 30 different lots, and then another parcel. And the guy called me up. He's like, "Hey, man, you don't know me, but I know your reputation. I've seen you around, and I would love to have you come out and represent us." And I'm like, "Holy crap! Okay, dang, that's cool." And it was just purely because of reputation.
There's a lot of people observing on the sidelines, seeing what you do as far as marketing, your social media presence, the way you treat other people, the willingness you have to mentor other people and to treat other people kindly. And when they're ready, you're going to be right there with the big ones. And in fact, they may not want to work with the big agents because they think it may cost too much, or they feel they won't get the attention that they deserve. So there's always the opportunity. Regarding failure is not fatal. Do you believe in failure?
It is also owning who you are in all aspects of your business. And I'll be open and honest with all of you guys right now, which I always am, which you always know. I have painted toenails. Yeah, I do. Straight male has painted toenails. And guess what? Thank you, COVID. Thank you, girlfriend, who wanted to use me as a test dummy on her new nail polish. Here's the funny thing. This is why I'm telling you the story. I was walking out of my unit the other day, and I came across this gal who was walking. She asked me for directions. We had a quick conversation, and then she's like, "Oh my God, I love your toenails." I'm like, "Oh my God, I love yours." I know it's a really weird conversation. Trust me on this one. And
Right.
You know what? She's like, "What do you do for a living?" Because I was dressed as, I mean, this is my outfit. I mean, I have a hoodie on with a t-shirt, a baseball hat, shorts, and flip-flops, right? That's how I roll. She's like, "You do real estate?" I'm like, "I do real estate." And she's like, "Well, I need your card because I'm thinking about selling my mother's unit here in the complex." I'm like, "Fantastic." She's like, "You know what? Just because you and I have painted toenails and I think that's really cool, I'm going to connect with you. And I'm going to call you and come over." And I'm like, "Well, shit. Then there's that." Okay. And it was just because, like you said, success is rented, not owned. And when you're authentically yourself in all aspects of your life and you don't make excuses, you're not ashamed of anything, things come to you in droves that you can never imagine.
Yeah, well, I mean, success is always available. It's always out there. It's always available, and you can take advantage of it. But how many people? Everyone here mentors, someone. I would hope. You speak to someone and they just can't be helped, and you offer them advice, you offer them business, and they're just not ready. They're just not ready for it. They don't want it. And one of the most important things to be successful is you have to want success and feel you deserve success. Correct?
Well, feeling you deserve success, that's a whole nother rabbit we can go down the hole with. Because a lot of us, we think we want it, but do we truly feel we deserve it? A lot of times people are going to say, "No, I don't feel I deserve it because I'm a dyslexic, I'm ADHD, I didn't graduate college," fill in the laundry list of bullshit. BS, sorry. Laundry list of BS in regards
Bullshit
to kind
is
of
fine. Bullshit is fine.
Okay, just no F-bombs. And
F-bombs are fine.
Oh, this is a great room.
21 or older group.
But I mean, it's just changing your mindset. Like I wake up every morning and tell myself, "Greg, you are a handsome, intelligent, successful, respected, guy, and people love you, and you just going to go meet some more people." And I tell myself that every single morning. Some mornings I don't believe it, but then I kind of shift my brain into another mindset, and I do believe it. But it's just making yourself understand that you are a loved human being. Every woman is beautiful. Every man is handsome. Everybody is valuable. Doesn't matter anything about what you do or what you don't do. Just go out there and crush skulls.
I mean, that's a big part of success, being able to recognize that not only in yourself, especially in yourself, but in other people too. But, every once in a while we do feel like charlatans. I mean, Jenny's spoken about this. Katie has spoken about this, quite extensively. And when I get to you with the question, maybe you want to bring that up again. But I mean, you are doing things that other people haven't figured out how to do yet. They just haven't figured it out. But I mean, the most to me, like when I was, started off in real estate and people would say, why are you so successful? I said, because I actually get out of bed and I leave my house. That's the first step. I leave the office. I spoke with someone in, very high up in financial services, and he was talking about this new hiree he had. He said, this person, fit the part. Brooks Brothers suit, young, athletic, smart, intelligent, sitting right there in the office, looking great in the office. He said, but I know that guy's going to fail. And I said, why? He said, because he's sitting here in the office. That's the problem. He has all the tools that are necessary to be successful, but you can't use them, if nobody can see your tools.
Yeah, my dad actually told me when he first got in the business. When I first got in the business 21 years ago, and it goes for any salesperson or any business. I'm like, Dad, again, he's been in the business for 50 years. Okay. And I'm like, Dad, how am I going to be successful? He's like, it's really simple, Greg. I'm like, great. It's simple. Let's go. And he said, I want you to take 25 business cards. On Monday, I want you to walk out the front door, turn left. Don't come back and you hand them out to every single person until you run out of 25 business cards. I'm like, okay, what do I do on Tuesday? He's like, get 25 business cards, walk out the front door, turn right.
Go to the right. Yeah.
And that's end of story. It's that simple. I actually tried that theory. I thought it was so out of his mind. And Trader Joe's is a supermarket we have here in California. And it was in the same parking lot as our old office. And so I tried it one day, and I took 25 business cards, and the first person I went to was the checker, who was checking, helping me buy my lunch. And I took a gulp, and I walked when I was talking to him, I'm like, hey man, you think about buying or selling any real estate? And he's like, no. I'm like, oh, but my parents are.
My parents are, right.
I'm like, really? I'm like, holy crap, this works. So I gave him my card, and then I went out and handed a bunch of other business cards out. It was magical to watch this thing work. But you can do it digitally now, and just the same as effectively as it was in person. But it's incredible if you just actually open your mouth and talk.
People say that you need to have a value proposition to be successful in sales. Well, when you realize you are the value proposition, then you're going to be successful. We teach people in Rockstar Connect in our academy that we said, it's not about who you meet at the event. It's not about the actual event and the people that come to the event. It's that people know that you have an event and that you know that you have an event, and you can use that as a value proposition. When you go to people, say, I can introduce you to people. I know people. I understand marketing. I can help you in that way. I mean, right after this call, I'm doing a presentation for someone who's advertising on the Rockstar Connect channels. It's understanding what value you have to provide and making that work. Okay, Katie, are you ready for the question?
Sure.
Okay, great. Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It's the courage to continue that counts. Winston S. Churchill. This sounds like your story. Yeah. Is this the quote? Is it really this a quote from you? Potentially.
I mean, I think success is different for everybody. A stay-at-home mom has a very different success for what she considers a successful day than the CEO of Bank of America. You know what I mean? Like everyone has, it's very, depends on like the person, the situation, the job, what's successful.
I mean, how many children are alive at the end of the day? Right.
Like her goal may be just like get my kid to nap for at least 20 minutes. And that's the most successful. And that is, I mean, that's a very, it depends on the situation, and it's, it's all relative. So, I think it's just, that question is just for some reason really hard for me to answer, because it just depends on the person and what they feel.
Let's just break it up as it applies to you as I evaluate it. Like for you, you've had many successes. As soon as you hit one success, you're like, okay, well, that's
never enough for me.
It's not enough. It's, or maybe it was enough and it felt so good. Let's repeat it again.
I always feel like anxious for more. And so for me, the minute I accomplish it, it's like, okay, that was super successful. but now like I want more. Like I want to do more, not just, I don't want to just repeat it. I always have this like anxious, like something more, like I need more. I need something more to happen, something different. Sounds like you're
a little addicted to success.
Yes.
Yeah, more. It feels good. Let's have more success.
So I keep putting more on my plate.
Right. But but that being said, you're spread that plate around more people. I mean, you have a board of directors now.
I've always had a board since day one, but we just
delegate more.
We've had new board members because the first board's term was up. So we added a few, we added 3 last year, and now the original board's done, and now we've added 4 more. So, everyone's super ambitious and really excited. And, I'm ready to you come on the board with the knowledge that you will be on the committee. You will be doing much, much more than I expected people in the beginning, because now, we're never going to grow if that doesn't start happening.
100%. What about the part failure is not fatal? What does that mean to you?
Well, to me, I have a whole talk on failure, and it's just like, to me, we tell our kids, you can be whatever you want to be. Don't ever take no for an answer. That whole theory and thought process. But then at some point, adults stop believing that for themselves. And for me, it's like that risk, that fear of failure doesn't exist in me, because to me, no one's going to define me at the end of my life based on, oh, I can't believe Katie tried to start that business. She tried, no one cares about that. They care about how you treat them as a person. And to me, if you literally look up failure, it means the omission of occurrence. It means you didn't even try. And so I don't understand that fear. It's like, you'll find a way to make it work out. We're not going to end up on the street. We all know someone whose couch we could crash on. You could get a job at a bar. You could nanny. You could, there's something you could do to make it work, to not have it fail. And at least you tried. So I just don't, to me, the failure is not even attempting what you wanted to do, not starting that job, not taking that move, not telling that person how you feel. Just do it, because what do you have to risk?
Right. I mean, a bucket list for an entrepreneur is probably very different than the general public. I probably have, 10 more business ideas that I would like to try before I leave, the mortal coil that I would like to have done. And I know I can do them, and I know that they're there. Or if I can't do them, I'm going to help someone else to do it.
Right. A failure to me is doing nothing, not even trying to do anything. So, and I think as entrepreneurs, we all agree with that, because we've all taken risks, and I left a stable, teaching job with benefits to run a nonprofit full time, knowing very well, I had to raise not only enough to pay my salary, but, nonprofits still have to pay taxes, and we still have, a small amount of overhead, plus all the money to, fund all the bikes that we promised. I can't promise a school bikes and be like, oh, sorry, I couldn't raise the money. That doesn't look very good. So, we all have taken that risk, and I think get what I'm saying, but.
Right. I mean, once you go take the risk and you get past it, and you're in your new life where you are free, I mean, it's freedom.
Yeah.
You're choosing the hours you work, how hard you work, who you work with, whether you're going to eat, steak or fish sticks. That's all decided by you. It's not decided by anyone else. There really is no risk that you're not willing to take.
And we're all willing to do what we need to do to make it work. So if I have to get another job at a bar on a weekend, or nannying, or doing whatever I have to do, I'll do it to make it work.
But you're going to have a different perspective, because your attitude will be like, okay, so when I'm working at the bar, I'll meet 6 people that can support my organization.
Yeah. And I mean, I work on weekends, I work, late at night. I'm doing what I have to do to make it work. I don't just do 9 to 5 and then come home and watch TV all night. I am working all the time, because I don't want to have to doing those side jobs, and I'm not doing those side jobs, but I don't want to have to get to that point. I want to be financially successful personally also, because to me, I don't define success how much money I'm making. but I'm also in a very different business where we give out the money, we don't keep it. So it's just, you do what you have to do to make it work.
I mean, part of your lifestyle and part of success is enjoying your lifestyle. I mean, and you clearly enjoy your lifestyle. So when I first started off in real estate, I worked in a brokerage. It was a traditional brokerage where the first thing you walked through the door is you saw the sales board. And if I wasn't, number one or number two, I not very happy. Then I went and worked for a brokerage that did not have sales boards, a virtual one. And then I was only competing against myself. I didn't know anyone else's production until the end of the year. Boy, my production really did go up at that point. I had much more satisfaction because I was competing only with myself. So, Greg, you're coming on in the second portion of it. You have a lot of nodding of your head there with what Katie said. Would you like to add on to anything that she brought up?
I think it comes down to lifestyle. Like I follow Katie on social media, and I see all the fun that she has, and it inspires me to kind of more do more of that in my own personal life. So I completely, I'm gonna dovetail on you, Katie, on that because when you say that you don't define your success on your bank account numbers, a lot of folks either on the panel or listening, we all have or do define our success based upon that. Now, is money bad? Absolutely not. Is it fun? Absolutely yes. Is it what makes you who you are? Nah, not at all. Because you know what? When you kick the bucket, you ain't taking any of it with you anyways. Go out there, be an incredibly good human being. And I think a lot of the times we get lost when it comes to that, just because we get caught up in the dollars and the cents and the bling bling and the shiny objects. When in regards, after this, I'm texting with a guy right now, and I apologize if I'm looking down, but he's a young 20-year-old, real estate agent that reached out to me for my podcast and said, "Hey, brother, I would love to get 10 minutes with you." I'll tell you one thing. That brings me more joy to help a real estate agent become more productive just by the connections I have through everything that I'm doing and my experiences than if you paid me $10,000 for that hour. No, I don't really want that money. I want to help that individual.
That's great satisfaction, 100%.
Yeah.
Empires are completely ephemeral. Plenty of people live in countries where they had tremendous wealth, tremendous financial success, only to have it taken away from them. And then they have to move to another country and they start all over again. And they enjoy, starting at the bottom. They didn't think they would, but there's just that natural way that entrepreneurs are. I mean, that's the way we're designed. We're really survivors and have the ability to create something out of nothing. And sometimes it's just refreshing to go back to, square one. I mean, in real estate, if you don't reinvent yourself every year, you're out of business.
Welcome to painting the toenails.
I mean, you can't do it the same way. And we have, with our events, there's so many, of our clients that are, they're going to start April, May, June doing their events. And some of them are like, the reason why I want to do my events is, I now realize it was an enormous part of my pipeline. I didn't know it before that, how could I meet so many people or let so many people know who I am in such an easy fashion? So it just makes my ability to network more efficiently that much greater. Then there's a group of them that said, you know what? I just miss people. I miss being the person that facilitates the people meeting with one another and that human interaction. So thank God for that, because we really need that. We need to be able to, right now, I mean, we're still going to hairdressers and getting our hair cut, but who's going the same amount of, every couple of weeks now? You're not doing it. You're putting off the time. You're not seeing the bartender. You're not seeing the barista. You're not chatting it up with the waitress at the restaurant. I mean, these are things that are essential parts of life. What did you want to say, Sir? Did you want to add something?
It won't help the conversation. You want to help the update at the very end?
Oh, yeah, at the very end. At the very end, Sarah would like to show off her puppy, Ziggy, who's no longer a puppy. It's 6 months old.
Have I, when it comes to connections, Stephen, I'm going to jump in super fast, and then I'll shut up. Have you guys, any of you, jumped on to the new app called Clubhouse yet?
I have an
Absolutely.
I have an invitation from you, and I'm going to be doing it.
I don't
Hey,
get
Greg,
it.
we have
I'm an Android user.
Katie, we can have a conversation. I'll explain it. It will.
It seems overwhelming, and I was like, I don't know what's happening.
No,
It's a lot.
Yeah.
I know it's like the next big thing, but
It is, and when Stephen, what the reason why I'm asking that is that I have literally a Clubhouse playing, in my background right here because they invited me on stage to be a moderator, and I know the moderator, so I wanted to show respect to him. The thing is that when it comes to connections, this is something that I've seen that has been bar none one of the most powerful things in our new era. And the thing is that, like, for Katie, for all the parents, all the kids that get all these bikes, you can start a groom, specifically for them and have questions and answers and get bike manufacturers and Andrew for what you do and Clint for what you do. And any of you guys, Jenny, it's a heck of a way to really become relevant very, very quickly, become very, very visible, grow your Instagram, grow all kinds of followers. I had 15 messages yesterday, and that's a lot for me. I'm not a hot chick, so I don't get a lot of messages all the time. Okay. So I when I got 15 messages, I was like, holy crap. And I started answering all these people, and they were having a lot of fun talking with me. I would encourage you guys, if any of you guys, I have 4 invites that I have available to me right now. So if anybody is not on it yet, if you want me, just DM me on Facebook or something like that. I'll send you an invite with your email address, I think it's your email or your phone number. I don't know.
It's your phone number.
Phone number.
Yeah.
Send me your phone number.
Hey, Greg, Domenic and I are actually doing one right after this show about our podcast and stuff.
And I have one tomorrow at 2 about our episode this week for our podcast.
This is what I'm talking about.
That's true.
And I'm an Android user, so I don't have any
So
idea.
you're SOL is what you are.
And Andrew sent you an iPhone last week. You didn't receive.
You have an iPad? You can do it on the iPad if you have an iPad.
I don't have an eye anything, Jenny.
Well, look,
Andrew, you got to move into the 21st century, bro.
I'm a reformed Android
I'm sticking with the pirate mentality. I'm a reformed Android user, so I get it. However,
yeah, I'm just saying when it comes down to connection, it really is like it is the ultimate way. And Stephen and Sarah, I would highly recommend moving this potentially to a Clubhouse just for to try this out, just because your visibility is going to go through the roof. I mean,
as an alternate, I would say as an alternate in conjunction with this, that you can do like a more exclusive.
Yeah.
Hi, Ziggy. Hi, Ziggy. Because then you can actually like bring people up and put them back down, right? So you can have each anybody who you want to have speak, you can bring them up to the platform for a certain allotted amount of time and then send them back down into the audience. So I mean, it's the lurker's dream app is what it is. Because you can literally lurk. I've seen people bolt immediately because they're invited up on stage, right? Like they're like, oh no, I don't want it. I didn't come here for that. But it is, yeah. Katie, I can walk you through it.
We can start a group with maybe do a group with 20 of our panelists and sort of run structure, and then let other people from the audience come up.
And you can make a private room. You don't have to broadcast it. So you can do it as a private, like if you want to test things out, that sort of thing.
Now let's just go for it.
Okay. I'm just saying, if you want, for anyone who is apprehensive about Clubhouse who might be watching or listening, you can also do private rooms so that you can, but there are rooms that don't close, and you can look by industry. You can look by, there's real estate rooms, there's marketing rooms, there's photographers, there's going to be nonprofit rooms, but it's a way to really create some authentic connection. I was in a room with a guy. It was very interesting, and I probably should not have been pulled up to be a moderator on that one. But it was very, very interesting. I recovered quickly. But I was in another room where with a guy that founded Podit. And for those that don't know what Podit is, it's like a clearinghouse where you can post your podcast and get guests and apply to be guests on other podcasts. So it's poddit.net. And it's free. You can upgrade to pay for it, but I mean the founder is in club like he's in Clubhouse rooms all the time. Podbean. I was on a panel with a guy that started Podbean. So I mean the accessibility for some of these people is unheard of on any other social media platform, right, Greg? Like you have access to people who you would not ever be able to connect with on any other social media platform.
Yeah, I met this girl, Cammie. She's like this big muck on social media and has like been on HGTV and all that stuff. Has like 400,000 or 500,000 followers and millions of views and the whole 9 yards. And I just DM'd her. I'm like, hey, you seem like a cool human. Like, hey, hit me up on Facebook. Let's connect and have a quick chat. She and I got on. We just rapped for a little bit, became BFFs, and now she's like inviting me to all these rooms and we're talking, and she's got visibility like a billion times bigger than I do. And it was just because we rapped about the fact that she has tattoos and I have tattoos and how cool is that, and yada yada, and we became friends. Super simple.
Mm-hmm. Well, guys, I really appreciate you coming on the show today. 3 Martini Lunch. We're going to be back again next week, same time, same place. Hopefully by then, Andrew will have an iPhone. Sarah and I will have gone into Clubhouse and all those other